Okay, so let's set up navbar. So here in source directory, I will create another directory component and inside it navbar.js. Now let's go to Bootstrap and get the basic navbar. RAFCE. I have this snippet installed. ES7 React Redux React Native snippets. That's why I'm able to create this boilerplate. We don't need this form. We don't need this drop down. So here let's import link from React router down. This will be 2 and the route will be slash. Alright, so navbar expand md bg light navbar light. These all are bootstrap classes, and then sticky top and shadow sm. Okay, I would like to display these link on the right side, so it will be ms auto. So let's create two links for now, register and login. So the route will be auth/register. Auth/login. Okay, so in source I will create a directory pages, and the first file will be, let's say, register. Now we need to register this file and this navbar in app.js. So let's bring something from React router down. Browser router, route, and route. Import navbar from components navbar, and import register from pages/register. Or let's create another directory here, auth, and inside it we will place auth related routes. So it's pages auth register. And here we will wrap up our app with browser router, navbar, and now we will define route. So this route will accept children, which will be actual route. So path for registration route will be /auth/register, and element is the register file. Okay, so now let's work on register. So here this page will contain form. So form title NHC, create an account, and I will give it bootstrap classes, text center, and margin bottom 3. Next, I will create div with margin bottom 3 class, which will hold label and input field. So label with class form dash label, and the first one will be name, and then input class form control, name attribute, and its value will be name. Okay, so I will duplicate it, and this will be email, password, confirm password. Type will be email, and the value of name attribute will be email. Type password, and now confirm password. Okay, so after this last div, we will place button. So div with class text center to center the button, and then another class margin bottom 3, register, and this button will have class btn, btn dash secondary, btn dash small. Okay, so this is our form. Let's give some classes to form tag, shadow sm. In fact, let's leave it shadow, rounded, padding 3, margin top 5, and also I will add a custom class form to reduce the width of the form. So max width 576 pixel and margin auto. Alright, now let's import use state from React to create a state and to control the value of input field. Const values, set values, use state. First is name, initially empty string, email, password, confirm password, error, yes, empty string, and loading, initially false. Now I'll destructure these values so that I don't have to write values.name, values.email. Const name, email, password, confirm password, error, loading from values. Okay, so the value for this name field will be name, and capture the change I will create a function handle change and assign it to on change. This one will be email and then password. And here confirm password. Okay, so handle change function. Set values, we will spread out all the values and then change the value of individual input field by its name attribute. So e.target.name, e.target.value. So by name attribute I mean for this field it will come here and grab the value for this name attribute and assign its value here. So for this one its name and its value will be whatever user will input, and then for email it will become name attribute, value of name attribute will become email and its value will be whatever user will input in the field. And now we need a on submit function here, so I'll call it handle submit. It will be an asynchronous function because we will send requests to Firebase. First of all, we will prevent the default behavior of form submission. e.prevent default. Now here we will make sure user has filled all the fields. So if not name or not email, not password, not confirm password, set values, spread out all the values and then error, all fields are required, and then we will return to exit this handle submit function. After that we will check whether password and confirm password field is matching or not. So if password not equals to confirm password, and the error will be password must match. Now here we will reset the state to clear any error. And this time loading will be true. After that let's open a try catch block. Here we will register the user. So let's go back to Firebase config file. We need to bring a few functions from Firebase. First of all, import get auth from Firebase auth. The name of function is get auth. And then import something from Firebase Firestore. Get Firestore. And finally from Firebase storage, get storage. Now we will initialize this function. Const auth equals to get auth and pass this app variable. Then db get firestore app and finally storage get storage app. Now we will export all these three values. Export auth db storage. Okay, so here I will bring auth. From Firebase config, I'll also bring db, and then from Firebase auth, we need create user with email and password. So here const result equals to await, since it's an asynchronous function. Create user with email and password. It takes 3 arguments on the auth instance, email and password. This one and these two. So first is auth, email, password. So once user is created successfully, it will return us user credential. This user credential object has user ID, which we will use to create the record for this user in Firestore. So here await, we need to bring something from Firebase Firestore. Import from Firebase /Firestore. Set doc function, doc, and yeah, let's add and also bring timestamp class. So once user is registered, we will add his detail in Firestore. For example, name, email, and created it. So await setDoc. This setDoc function takes document reference, which is this one, doc. Now this doc function takes Firestore reference and then collection name and then identifier. So we have Firebase instance here, db, collection name, let's call it users, and for user ID we will call result.user, and this user object has UID. So right now we have no collection or document in Firestore. So what this setDoc will do, it will look into Firebase, and if there is no collection or document, it will create one, and the data we would like to store, let's say user ID, which is result.user.uid, name, email, created at. So have we brought timestamp? Yes. This timestamp class has a method from date, and here we will pass the current date, new date. Here I will add one more property, is online, which will be boolean. So when user is registered, is online will be true, and once user logs out, we will set this property to false. Alright, and after that let's clear the state. Set values, name, email, password, confirm password, error, null, and loading false. And in case of error, set values. Error will be error.message and loading false. Okay, now after that let's navigate to home page, but we don't have home page, so let's create one. Home.js, and we will register it here. Import home from pages/home, and the path will be slash and element home. So we need to bring navigate from React router down. Actually it's not navigate, it's use navigate, which is a hook. So const navigate equals to use navigate, and now here we can say navigate and we will provide path slash. Okay, so first of all we are creating user here, then it will return us user credential object. This user credential object has user ID, which obviously is unique. Then we are creating a record for this particular user in Firestore. So setDoc, which takes document reference, and this document reference takes Firestore reference, collection name, and the identifier, and the field we would like to store. So let's try it out. Actually, okay, this is from navbar, I guess. Yes. And here in navbar or in register route, I will disable the button when loading is true. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. Now let's click register. Okay, we are redirected to home page. So now let's check Firebase. Go to authentication, and here you can see user is created. This is the unique identifier, and this identifier is used to create Firestore record for this particular user. So now let's go to Firestore. Here you can see user collection with this unique identifier, and then all the fields we have stored. Name, email, is online, created at UID. Alright, so user registration is done. Next we will work on this navbar. We will show logout when user is logged in, otherwise these two links. Okay, so we need to keep track of authentication status. This way we will be able to hide and show different links in navbar. So I will use a context here to track the authentication status. So in source, context, and here I'll call it, let's call it auth. So first of all, import something from React, create context. I think with React 18 we don't have to import React, so let's move it. Create context, use state, and use effect. So export const auth context, and here we will invoke create context. Now const auth provider, it will accept children. First of all, let's create user state. User set user. Initially it will be null, and then loading state. It will be true initially. So now here in use effect we will track authentication status. So we need to bring on auth state change from Firebase Auth. So on auth state change, and this takes authentication instance and it will return user. So we have auth in Firebase config. So auth, and it will return user. Here we will set user to this user, and whether there is user or not, we will set loading to false. Okay, so if loading is true, then we will show loading text. So let's create it here. Loading.js. Let me give it inline style. Position relative, and inside it let's create h2 loading. Position fixed. I will display it in center of the screen. Top 50%, left 50%, and then transform, translate minus 50%. So now let's bring this file in context. From components and loading. So if loading is true, we will return loading. Otherwise we will return auth context.provider, and it will accept children. And here we need to pass value, so we will pass user. And finally here export default auth provider. Alright, now we need to wrap our entire app with this file. So in app.js, import auth provider context auth. Here you can see this auth provider accepts children. So these are the children of this auth provider. Now let's go to navbar and we will use this context. So use context, and we will also import the file from context auth, and it is auth context. Let me destructure user from this context. Use context, and we will pass auth context. Alright, so here we will check if user exists. Then we will show, let's just show a button to log out. btn dash danger, and if user is not logged in, then we will show these two links. So now user is logged in, so we are seeing this logout. btn dash small. Okay. Alright, so in the next lesson we will work on this logout. So now we will work on logout functionality. But before that, go to register.js, and here in the catch block we are setting the error, but we are not displaying the error anywhere. So let's do that now. Before this button, we will check if there is an error, then we will display error, otherwise null. Then I will give it classes text center and text danger. Okay, so here let's create a function to handle sign out. So const handle sign out, it will be an asynchronous function, and we will call this function on button click. So this is what we are going to do here. Update user document, and by that I mean set is online property to false. Then log out, and finally navigate to login screen. So let's do that now. Await update doc. This update docs takes document reference, which is doc, which will also come from Firebase Firestore. So it takes Firestore reference, which in our case is DP variable. It is auto imported. And second will be the collection name, users, and then the identifier. So we have user here, so user.uid. And here we will set is online to false. Once it's done, we will now log out the user. So await sign out, and it comes from Firebase Auth. And now let's import use navigate hook from React Router DOM. Const navigate equals to use navigate. Navigate /auth /login. We don't have login screen yet. Let's create one in auth login.js, and in app.js import login from pages auth, and then login /auth /login, and element will be login. So now let's try it out. Right now we are login, so we are seeing this logout, and if you take a look at Firestore, user is online currently is true. So let's do this. Logout. Is online is now false, but we are not redirected to login. Can't read properties of undefined reading signout. Okay. This signout takes auth instance. Auth, which we will bring from Firebase config file. So if you try it again, now we are logged out. Alright, so next we will work on this login screen. Now let's go to register.js and copy everything here, because login will be almost identical to this one. Now let's change this to login here as well, and for state we don't need name, we don't need confirm password. Remove from here as well. And we don't need this block of code. So this time it will be sign in user with email and password. Sign in with email and password. And the arguments here will remain the same. After signing in, we will update the user document in Firestore and set is online to true, just like we did in logout. So copy this and paste it here. We need to bring update doc and doc as well. We also need DB. For result, for user ID, we have this in result.user.uid. As now this time is online will be true. So when we are resetting the state, remove the name and confirm password. And now here let's change heading. We don't need this name field, and confirm password. This will be login. So I think that's it. Let's remove these unused import. Okay, so now let's give it a try. Now I'm logged in and link change here, and if you take a look at Firestore, is online is true, and if we log out again, redirect it to login page, and is online is set to false.